Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
Do you have an iPhone or something inferior?
iPhone.
Okay, good. We're back in the iPhone game again. Good. There was a couple I ran through that were Samsung Galaxy. I'm like, is that still a thing? It wasn't.
Didn't that blow up? Didn't they blow up?
One of them did. I think my co-host has the one that blew up, but he got rid of that one when it blew up.
What are we going to do today? Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Oh, and listen to the Nice Guys on Business podcast, of course. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Nice Guy community, welcome back, welcome back. It is interview day today, Friday. My name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler.
I am so excited about today's interview, not only because it's an attorney that is helping me fix all of the legal ills in my life. Not true. But
so he's obviously a really powerful lawyer with a lot of time on his hands. Is that what you're trying to say?
He may be a really powerful guy. I doubt knowing Josh just in the interview that I had with him, and there was a technical issue the first run through, so we actually had to reschedule it. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks in the process of just trying to come up with a 30-minute period that both he and I were both available at the same time. Josh is a guy, I'll call him a lawyerpreneur. He is definitely an entrepreneur in the legal world. He teaches and talks about all things that are franchise focused. So if you are thinking about starting your own franchise, he's a great guy to talk to. If you're thinking about buying a franchise that already exists, he's a great guy to talk to as an attorney. That he's got the legal side all about his business, and he actually is so good at it that he is has a podcast that's now 175 episodes deep. So he really knows the space. Franchising is his thing, and I would encourage you to listen to this episode, if nothing else, other than to figure out if you are thinking about franchising. It is definitely a good show to listen to.
I know we have a lot of listeners who are entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs, so I'm sure we have a lot of you guys and girls out there who have either purchased franchises or thought about jumping into a franchise. And you don't think about it, but I mean, there are obviously, if anybody who's done any research, there are thousands and thousands of franchise opportunities out there, and all of them say that they are the best. But you can do your own research of what you think the numbers are good or whatever, but there's so much legal stuff in the background that make an appointment with Josh to talk about that ahead of time before you make a final decision. I mean, think about it. If you buy a franchise, this is something that you're planning on doing for like the next 5 or 10 or maybe 20 or 30 years. You want to make sure you get the right one and get the best deal you can. I had never really thought about it before. Like, if I was going to jump into a franchise, would I talk to a lawyer ahead of time? Obviously, if I was turning my business into a franchise, I think it's pretty obvious you're going to talk to a lawyer. But if I was just going to jump into a franchise, I might not. But you know what? You think about it, it's a really good idea.
And today's episode, it is actually sponsored by Julie Riesler. Julie wrote a book called Get a PhD in You. There'll be links in the show notes about how to get a copy of the book, or you can head over to getaphdinu.com. What I really think would be fun is, why don't we take a listen to, I interviewed Julie at the book signing that night, and Strickland did a great job of editing it. So why don't we listen to the back and forth that I had with Julie, and then we'll come right back and introduce Josh into the interview here.
Another one. All right, Julie Riesler, the book is called Get a PhD in You, and what does it feel like to have so many supporters that are out here enjoying what you've done?
So it's really surreal, honestly. Like you said, this has been a long journey, this personal development journey, really getting to know myself and really change a lot of mental thought patterns and habits, and frankly, a lot of self-loathing and looking at myself in such a negative light. And to go from that to transformation, it's taken a while. The book writing process took 2 years. So there's a part of me that's like not shocked at all, because I put a lot of time and energy into this. But the actual holding the book and then seeing people and then having you and others that have written endorsements that are part of it and that have shared their words with me, that feels just incredible.
So what happens now? Like, what's the next step? Because now I know that the feeling as a guy that's written a book also, that after you write the book, now you got to do shit with it. So what's the plan?
Well, I wrote this book to be in service of others wherever you are in your life, whether it's getting unstuck or just taking your life to the next level. If it's switching careers or changing relationships or just really wanting to get to know yourself better, my intention is to make a big impact in the planet. And so I hope to do workshops and speak, and I can come to your city or wherever you are, your company or your board meeting or retreat or workshop. And there's so much in this book. I really believe when you master your inner world, you master your outer world. And I don't care if that's in business, if that's personal, if that's within your family, that makes a difference. So I hope to really use it and to expand and being able to make an impact with a lot of people.
The book is called Get a PhD in You, and it's by Julie Riesler. And we'll make sure we put the link in the show notes to get you over to Amazon and our website to buy the book. It is a great book. I promise I put the nice guy seal of approval on it, and I was just so excited to be able to be included in the journey that you've been on. Once again, thanks, everybody.
Julie likes to talk about her own book, but you can hear the passion with which she speaks of. I mean, she has lived this and breathed it, and she knows it. And the book is so good because of that.
She's been through a lot. She really has. This book is like her baby, and she does call it her baby a number of times in the conversation that I have with her, the full extended conversation that I have with her. She's just a good lady, and she's written a good piece of information here. She's written a good book. It's actually a little bit of biography, a little bit of teaching, a little. It just really is a good book for you to check out. All right, so are we ready to get to this interview with Josh?
Well, yeah, as soon as you tell people where they can get the book, which is Get a PhD in You, or you can go to the show notes. Again, her book is called Get a PhD in You, and that's what the website is too. So if you want to get a copy of the book, go to Get a PhD in You, or on the show notes, you can click on the link, which will get you to Amazon, which will get you a copy too.
All right, one final thing. Let's do the promise statement before we head into that. The Nice Guys on Business promise statement is right here: to provide a learning experience that is entertaining and adds value to your life, period. The end. That's it. That's what we want to do. If you feel like we're not hitting the mark, could you let either me or Strickland know? And I actually think that over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed definitely a scaled up version of Strickland now on social media. Is this true, Strickland?
Crazy, right? I've actually been a little more active on Twitter. I mean, I'm always a little active on Facebook, but yes, I've actually been checking my Twitter feed lately.
Are you okay? Is everything good?
I've been listening to your advice, and it's like, you know what? If I got to get more active on social media, got to get active on social media. That's what it is, right?
Wait a minute. Let's mark this date. What is today's date? He's actually speaking my advice. Strickland, my advice? Strickland, I appreciate that. I have to look now for opportunity to listen to your advice. So could you provide some advice at some point in the next couple of shows? And I will make a note, and I will say that I have been following it, because I now I feel obligated to do something you tell me to do.
And it's a lot of pressure for me to actually give advice that would be meaningful and helpful. It's a lot of pressure.
All right. Well, let's let the pressure release right now. Let's get to our interview with Josh Brown, and then we will take it from there. Can we do that?
All right, let's do that. Let's get to the interview with Mr. Josh Brown.
Here to talk about all things franchise today is Josh Brown. Josh is an attorney, actually an attorneypreneur. I like that term, an expert in the franchising space. So if you're thinking of either buying a franchise, looking to put your business into the franchising arena, or just want to know if franchising is right for you, check out the interview today with Josh Brown. So Josh, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and just Nice Guy community, just so you're aware of all of the hoops that Josh actually had to jump through in order to finally make it here today, overcoming every technical obstacle I could potentially throw in his path. But he rose above it, so he actually passed the test that very few others actually passed. So well done, Josh. Man, oh man, two non-technical guys trying to put together a podcast involving a little bit of technical nature, very challenging, right?
And for people who've done this a bit, I mean, I've got 180 episodes and very rarely have run into technical issues, but so it goes, as they say.
And so it goes. So help set the record straight here, Josh. Did you find franchising, or did it find you, and how big a part of your practice is franchising really today?
It's a great question. I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. So before I went to law school, I worked for 5 years after I graduated from undergrad, and I worked in various business management capacities. And before I went to law school, I happened to help just by happenstance, a couple of franchisees get their businesses up and going. And at that time, never even thought about franchising. I just kind of stumbled onto those positions, almost just killing time until I went to law school because the application process and was so long and tedious. I go through law school, start working for a couple of different firms, a judge, and then start slowly but surely picking up some business clients. And I think to myself, man, I really want to niche myself and be something other than a small business attorney. I started thinking back to my experiences in the franchise world, thinking, wow, franchising is kind of an interesting niche. I understand it from a business perspective. I don't know anything about it from a legal perspective. So when you say, did it find me or did I find it? I think it's a combination of both, because I kind of stumbled into it before I went to law school. But by stumbling into it before I went to law school, that allowed me thereafter to think back on some of the experiences I had. And it was at the forefront of my mind of a business experience that was a little bit different and allowed me to position myself in a little bit of a different way.
So how has because technology, I'm sure, has really affected how franchises are marketed and sold. How much, I would assume that a lot more people are into this particular space because they love the idea of having a system put in place in their world.
Yeah, I mean, franchising, it's funny, as the economy, even over the last number of years, has remained, it's growing slowly, but even when it wasn't growing at all, franchising was relatively stable as compared to the overall economy. I mean, there's an attraction for a lot of folks, both business owners who want to grow and want to grow through using and bringing on other people as franchisees. That's attractive because it provides entrepreneurs a way to expand by using other people's capital and investment. And it's also attractive for franchisees because it is a proven system, a proven model. Now, with the advent of technology, it's both good and bad, as with anything. I see
anybody can start a franchise now, and anybody can become a franchisor because it's almost like it's so easy to do it because technology really works in your favor.
Yeah, and you do have to be scrupulous and even more so now because there's as many good systems as there are out there. There's a lot of bad ones, and I find that the people who are careful and thoughtful and don't just dive into the quote unquote next great opportunity tend to do better than those that get swept away by what they believe the opportunity is as opposed to what the opportunity really is.
Well, and it's just like any other business opportunity that you may find. If you don't do your due diligence, it is definitely against your better judgment to just dive in. Like you said, do a little investigation and find out what's out there. You mentioned a number of times, and I've listened to your franchise. I've listened to your podcast a couple of. Oh, and by the way, Nice Guy Community, he has a really good podcast as well. 175, or maybe now, as you said, 180 episodes in. I'm going to let you chat about that for a moment. But you say a number of times on your podcast, it's not about what's hot, it's about what's right. So how do you determine what is the right franchise for you to get involved in? Are there a specific set of questions that you want to you ask yourself before you even get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's probably the number one question I get, so much so that in addition to talking about on my podcast, I created a video on my website, titled "What's the Hottest Franchise?" And that question is fascinating to me from a couple perspectives, and that is, sometimes what's the hottest franchise is not the franchise you want. It's like, what's the hottest stock right now? Well, you may not want to buy it because you may be too late to the game. And so it's not, the question's not what's the hottest franchise. The question is, what's the hottest franchise for you? So in order to determine that, you have to ask yourself a number of things. First of all, you have to ask yourself, why in the first place are you looking at a franchise? What's the purpose? Is it because you are you've been corporately downsized? Maybe you are taking an early retirement, but you want to continue on and you've always had a dream of owning your own business. Maybe you want to create something that you can pass on to your kids. Maybe you want to look at it as an opportunity to invest in a number of businesses and grow by owning multiple systems and use it as an investment tool. There's lots of different reasons to do it. But the first question is, why do you want to buy a franchise. The next question is, are there any franchises that you simply have no interest in? I mean, if you're not good with people, I don't think you want to own a retail type franchise or a restaurant. I mean, those are kind of obvious things. But here's a third question that a lot of people don't think about because they just get so swept away by the dollars and cents, right? They look at it and they go, oh, wow, if I invest this much and I do this and I'll make all this money. Can you follow a system? Right. I mean,
it seems like such a simple question to ask yourself. If you can't, stay the fuck out of this business. It's not for you. Sorry, well, I mean to be so blunt, but I mean, it's like if you can't follow a system, why are you even looking at a franchise to begin with?
Yeah, and it's even more so like, do you want to follow a system? I mean, I deal with people a lot of the times, frankly, who they get into a system, they then regret it, and they contact me, and I say, well, you know,
they want
what's
help.
The problem?
Right.
Well, I don't like they do it this way, but I want them to do it that way. They do it this way, but I want them to do it that way. And some of it I understand, right? I mean, you're buying it and you're running the business, but I say, listen, you need to go create the business and then turn it into a franchise. You're not a franchisee. A franchisee is somebody who, yes, they're gonna question things and want things to be improved, but on a baseline level, you have to be really confident in the system you're buying into. And you're not going to go to, Subway and tell them, well, I know that you put 3 pickles on your 6-inch, but I think it would be fantastic if you put 7 on them. And I know your system is to put 3 pieces of turkey, 2 pieces of cheese, 2 tomatoes, but we're going to go ahead and do it differently. And oh, by the way, we don't think it's as efficient on this whole line when people go through. We're going to do it. We're going to set everything up differently. It's like, no.
You're degrading the entire system. If you walk into that location and you go into another one, it's going to be inconsistent, which again is brand confusion. I'm not saying that the brand Subway is going to fall because you put 6 pickles, but I'll tell you, the stores that do it all right, because you're like, hey, a Big Mac, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun every single time. I mean, why change this? Why screw up a good thing?
Absolutely. And by the way, the reason I know the number of pickles and tomatoes, just a little sidebar here is when I was 16 years old, I worked at a Subway. I was a sandwich artist. I was a Subway sandwich artist when I was 16 years old, getting up at 6 in the morning to go to the Subway around the corner from me.
Bake the bread, baby. Bake the bread. Bake the bread.
Oh, hey, Doug, bake the bread. I'm talking about chopping onions till I'm crying. Tears coming down my eyes, chopping these onions and in the back. So, but it's true. Even back when I was 16, I was like, you got to be kidding me. There's really a set number for what you put on a 6-inch versus a 12-inch. I thought, this is really cool. Like, this is really, there's something to obviously systems back in my 16-year-old mind, but it's a serious thing. And you wouldn't believe the number of people that get into franchises as franchisees and then they want to change everything.
Right.
It doesn't work. So, and really, you either are ripe to be a franchise owner, you either are of that mindset or you're not. I mean, that's why typically a lot of folks who fit the mold of good franchisees are people who have been in middle or upper management or worked for larger corporations for a long period of time, people who are in the military or
they want to be told what to do. I mean, they just want to. They love a good system because they know, hey, I don't have to mess up something that's already been created. That they know what they're doing. They've done the research. They know it's 3 pickles, not 6 for a reason. It's not just because Subway says it's got to be this way. It's because there is a reason why they do it. They know profitability. They know systems. They know the things that they need to do in order to make it profitable.
They know food costs. They know from just years and years of experience and fidging with and continuing to improve the model. And so these people, the people who find success as franchisees, are the people who do their due diligence and buy into a good system and have a clear notion of what they want to get out of it. And then they go and they follow the rules. Now, that doesn't mean they don't try to work to make it better, but you got to be in the system for a while. You have to sort of earn that right to then come in and work with other franchisees and work with franchisors to say, listen, this is a common problem we're having. We think the system would be better if X or Y or Z. That's different than what a lot of people do, which is try to come into systems and completely change them.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with that. Let's talk for a second on the other side of the equation in preparing you and your business into making that a franchise. So, because a number of people are also coming to you not just to look at the opportunity to buy a franchise that's already existing, but they say to you, I'm interested in turning my business into a franchise because I have a really good system. Is that how it works? And if so, like, what are some of the must-dos to turn your business into a franchise?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when people come to me to turn their business into a franchise, it's because they've been operating for a certain period of time and have had some success. Usually it's in multiple locations, or at the very least they've had a good amount of success in their one location. And usually what happens is somebody brings it up to them. Somebody comes in and says, man, I love this place. I love what you guys do. Have you ever thought of franchising? Right. Are you opening other locations? So the entrepreneurial brain, right? The person goes, ooh, I never thought about that. Or maybe I did think about it and maybe now's the right time.
Right.
So, but before you do that, you have to be clear on a few things. First and foremost, you have to make sure that you actually have something that is sellable. So you actually have a system that's not just a system in your head, but it's a system that's actually on paper, that's implemented, that can be repeatable. The best kind of franchise is out there, bar none, are the ones that are simple in the sense that you can plug other people in there who don't have the experience that you have, and they can follow your operations manual and they can run the business successfully. That sounds easy to do, but when people go through the process or they inquire about the process, it's very involved. And usually when I'm talking to people, they have everything in their head, but they don't have everything on paper. So the first thing I do when I talk to somebody is I try to get a history of what they do and how long they've done it. The next thing is if they only have one location, I actually encourage them to open up 2 locations before they franchise, because it's very, very different running 2 locations than it is 1 location. And it's very eye-opening for entrepreneurs because it's no big deal. I'll just open up a second location. Now they go, oh man, I can't be in 2 places at one time. I didn't realize how much these people rely on me because I'm here every day. And then when I'm not here, everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
So those kinds of things are really, really important. And then beyond that, beyond just sort of those general kind of business practices and principles, what kind of trademarks do you have? What kind of branding do you have? What kind of intellectual property do you have that you need to protect? What kind of agreements do you have? What is the model that you're actually selling? What is the value for somebody to come in and buy it? What is the breakdown of the territories going to be? And of course, there's a whole bunch of legal documentation that needs to go in place because franchising is regulated not only on the federal level, but several states also have their own state franchise laws that you have to comply with.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So to say it's complex, and a lot of times people will ask, well, what's the difference between franchising and licensing, and so they start getting into, do I really want to franchise my business? And so it's a decision that should not be taken lightly.
It sounds like there's probably some very common mistakes that people are going to make, like they haven't done enough research or they haven't investigated enough the idea of franchising, or if in the event that they want to turn their business into a franchise, they have not documented their system. They just think it's a great system, although it's in their head. They have to come up with actually a documentation on the steps that they go through in order to make this a successful business. So are there some other really common errors that people make? Is it capital? Is there operations, time commitment, length of time to start up a franchise? Any of those common misunderstandings on how to put together a franchise?
Yeah, I mean, all of those. You hit the nail on the head on those. Even all of those things are problems, and people always think it's going to cost less than it does. But at the same time, there are places out there that will really rip you off in terms of what they charge to do things to turn you into a franchise. So you have to be cognizant and really work with experts who have done it on that. But a big problem that I find people have again is just they don't have the operations really down, and they can't really they haven't really provided or fine-tuned their system enough to do it. But beyond that, the problems that people tend to have is that they don't, as they turn their business into a franchise, they don't think about the internal infrastructure that now they're going to have to create to grow the franchise, which ties into another thing that people never think about, which is when you become a franchisor versus just an entrepreneur, okay, your role changes big time. When you're just an entrepreneur running 1 or 2 or 3 locations, your whole focus is on those 1 or 2 or 3 locations. When you become a franchisor, your focus is on the entire brand and growing that brand. And so now, of course, you are focused in part on the locations that you already have, but you need to be focused on how you're going to grow the brand, how you're going to bring other people on, how you're going to work with those people, what's the continued value that you're going to provide those people. A big problem that I see in franchising is you have a lot of franchisors that are fantastic at selling. Right? They're fantastic. These are entrepreneurs. They built a business. They're growing it. They can sell what they've done. What they're not great at is follow through. And so they do a great job of selling, but they don't do a great job of having the infrastructure to be able to provide the back end services. I mean, when you start bringing on 5, 10, 15, 20, and a growing number of franchisees, you've got to have an organizational structure to handle that. You can't be answering every call yourself. You can't be dealing with all the day-to-day problems. And beyond that, you have to have an offering that continues to show value to the franchisees for years to come. So there's a lot of franchise businesses where the value is simply in the operations manual. This is how you do it. But if a franchisee comes in and they've been working with your system for a year, I'm going to guess that they're going to pretty much have a good feel for how you do it. Then they're going to be asking themselves, okay, why am I continuing to pay this royalty? Why am I continuing to pay these fees? So you have to have some other value that you bring to the table, i.e., do you as the franchisor have tremendous research and development team? So now you're staying ahead of the curve. You're staying ahead of the competition. You're bringing to bear technologies that other folks in the same competitive space can't bring to the table. Wow, that's a real good advantage.
It sounds like a lot of the things that the franchisor, the person that owns the entire franchise and has to bring value to its franchisees, it sounds like the thing that they need to do really is to work a lot more on the business rather than in the business and step away from the daily operations and work more on the brand and the commitment to the franchisees. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. It's that whole E-Myth adage, right? I mean, working on the business instead of in the business. And when you're a franchisor, if you're going to be successful long term, in my opinion, you're going to want to grow slowly and measured. You're going to want to take the time to make sure that the first 10 to 15 franchisees that you have are really good fits for your system, even if it takes you 5 times longer to get there. That's another huge mistake I see is people are so anxious to bring on people into their system and they don't stop and think, is this person a good fit? Because trust me, I've seen it from both sides. If you just because you can sell to 20, 25 franchisees, if they're not good fits, they're going to bring your whole system down. Yeah, that definitely sounds like that. You have to examine the people that are coming into your business. I would agree with that completely. Nice Guy community, just so you're aware, Josh has a couple of different areas that you can really get more information about what he does. First area that I would really focus on is head over to his podcast. Josh, what is the name of your podcast? Franchise Euphoria.
Okay, so Franchise Euphoria, just go to iTunes. We'll put a link in the show notes that'll probably get over to his website. But he has information about his podcast, I'm assuming directly on your website, Josh?
Yeah. There's a link at the top for the podcast.
Very well experienced podcaster, does a great job. I've heard a couple of the episodes, over I think 180 episodes. I know as of the time I listened last week or so, it was 175, and I know you got a bunch in the can still that you have out. Also, you have on your website, Josh, a free giveaway for anybody that heads over there. What to know before you franchise? Is that correct?
Yeah, what to know before you franchise, and then if there's folks who are looking to buy a franchise, there's what to know before you buy a franchise, and a couple other free giveaways too over there that are white papers that'll kind of help get you thinking about some of the things that we've talked about today and a few others.
That's great. And we'll put links in the show notes for as many of those things as we possibly can, so as not to confuse everybody. We'll try to keep it concise and send them over to your website to get more information. I know you're a better guy at selling what you do than we are. Do you have time for just a couple more questions? Because I'd love to hit you with this, take you off your franchisee and franchisor and attorney hat for a second and just put on your entrepreneurial hat, and I can ask you a handful of questions.
Ask me anything you want.
All right,
Go for
great.
it.
All right, great. So this is called the rapid fire Q&A portion of our show. I have 5 questions. Each one of those, I'm going to do my best not to step on you as you answer them, although I really stink at that, so I'm probably going to interrupt you a few times in here. Just give yourself maybe 15 or 20 seconds, so as concise as you possibly can provide an answer would be great. All right, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, great. Now, Nice Guy community, so you're aware I have not prepared Josh for any of these questions, so it may take him a second to recoil once I give him the questions. Here we go. Josh, be relatable. What do you suck at? I know it's hard for an attorney to guess what he sucks at, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you suck at?
I suck at taking time to really probably appreciate people as much as I should in terms of the people who are helping me with my business. I think I treat them well, but I'm so goal oriented that I just go, and I suck at communicating things like, wow, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. I'm really trying to work on that.
Not very unusual. I mean, that is definitely goal oriented. And here comes the part where I always step on people. That's very entrepreneurial in your way, and you're thinking it's almost like enough about the pain, just show me the baby. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so insensitive. I just want to get to the goal. So that's very relatable. So I appreciate you saying that. Question number 2: be transparent. How did you pay your bills when you first got going, Josh?
I paid them with money in my bank account and credit cards, and probably more credit cards than money in my bank account.
That's a good one. I think that's not unusual as well. Be confident. What do you do as an entrepreneur that's as good as it gets?
I think I pay really close attention and take care of my clients and really well. I'm always available for them, and I'm always trying to do things in a way to add more value to them. I think I do that really well.
Nice. 24/7, 365, right?
Yep.
Next question. Be humble. What experts did you need to call upon to make shit happen when shit wasn't happening?
Oh my! Well, who didn't I have to call upon?
I'm still making phone calls.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I first started in franchise, I've been practicing 11 years. When I first started 7 years ago, I didn't know anything about franchise law, and I literally called up attorneys outside of the state. When I launched my practice, I didn't own my own business. So I reached out to anybody and everybody I knew who had a business, or who had a business that was successful, and also who had a business that wasn't successful. And I just wanted to soak in everything I could possibly soak in. I am not bashful at reaching out to people. And I think that's a great thing for everybody to know is you can't be successful on your own, and you have to be a sponge and soak in other people's experiences and apply them to your own, so that even if you make the same mistakes, you can work out of those mistakes.
Completely agree. All right, I just sent you over in the Skype chat just so you have it, because I'm going to ask you to put these in order as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Put these into priority order and why. Customers, products, employees, and systems.
I can't pull up this. Here it is. Okay.
I knew I was going to confuse you. I threw technology in your way.
No. I know. Okay. Well, okay. Oh, geez. Okay. Put them in order.
So you're going to put them in order. Customers, products, employees, and systems. Put them in any order that you think as an entrepreneur or business owner they should be. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think there's just going to be what your spin on this is.
Products, customers, employees, systems.
Okay. All right. And can you share why you put products first?
Products are first because if you don't have something to sell, whether it's a product or a service, you don't have employees, customers, or a system. So you have to have something to sell.
All right.
You don't have a business if you don't have customers, but you don't have customers if you don't have good employees or people to help take care of them, and you don't have a long-standing business or a business that can grow if you don't have systems to help allow you to go to the next level.
No, I agree with you. I would wonder if I had the president of the International Franchise Association on this interview, if he would put systems as the front runner, or a customer service guy putting customers first, or somebody that's an HR business putting employees first. It's very interesting, the answers that we've gotten over the time that we've been asking the question. So thanks for your answer there.
Doug, real quick, and I just want to chime in. If you gave me 5 minutes to think about it, I bet you I might reorder those. But right off the cusp, and what's interesting, and what we all know, even with the International Franchise Association and everything, is systems develop over time. You develop systems not just through writing a business plan. You develop a systems from working a business. And I know in my own business, it's taken – I wasn't able to put good systems in place until the first year or two or later, until you really kind of have an understanding for how your business works.
Agreed.
It's a great question, though. Great question.
No, thanks. And do you have your cell phone anywhere near you?
I do.
Okay, great. Do you have an iPhone or something inferior?
iPhone.
Okay, good. We're back in the iPhone game again. Good. There was a couple I ran through that were Samsung Galaxy. I'm like, is that still a thing? Didn't
that blow up? Didn't they blow up?
No, one of them did. I think my co-host has the one that blew up, but he got rid of that one when it blew up. Okay, so you do have an iPhone, so you're good. We can compete to the next round. Continue to the next round. If you go to your texting app for a second, what is the last text message you sent and received?
Last text message I sent was to my wife, who called me during this interview, and I said, I'm on a call. We'll call you back.
Mm-hmm, nice. Thank you.
The last text message I received was from a client of mine, and I can't really say what it says, but it just goes to show you my customer service, because I give my clients my cell phone number, so they text me too.
Nice.
So I just received a text from my client during this call.
I understand. Attorney-client privilege. We get it. And go to your photo app, and what is the last thing that you took a photo of? Okay,
here we go. Let me pull that baby up. Okay.
Knowing that we had a dominatrix on the show, and then nothing you could say would embarrass anybody.
I'm going to tell you, the last photo I have in here is of my wife, my youngest daughter, holding one of my associates' newborn at their house. We took them pizza over the weekend, and so I've got my youngest daughter holding her, and my wife kind of helping her along, because my youngest daughter is about 1.5 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Now, how many kids?
I have 3 daughters.
And so 1.5 is the youngest?
1.5 is the youngest. Then I have a 2.5, and then I have a 7.5.
Oh my gosh. You have 3 that have not even gotten really into school yet. God bless your wife.
Absolutely, yeah. She stay at home with them, so she does everything.
Yeah, so you try to hide at the office as long as you possibly can, or you have to go home.
Well, but now with my oldest, who's going to be 8, I get the call every day about 4:45, and it's so cute. I love it. She's like, "Daddy, when are you coming home?
Yeah.
We miss you. When are you coming home?" And that's another thing, Doug. Real quick, not to take it back. That's another thing. That's another thing I suck at. But it's hard for me, is work-life balance. When you own your own business, when you own your own firm, and you're trying to grow it, boy, is it hard to balance family and work.
Oh, I agree. And I would suggest to you, as a part of any good franchising podcast, as a part of any good any podcast at all, to have somebody on your show that understands the balance of health and wellness and mindfulness and everything that goes into wellness in your life. Such an integral part of owning a business and running your own business. So thanks for that. Thanks for that for sure, Josh. Let's see. So we'll make sure we put all of the information in the show notes about Josh's company, about his law practice, about his free giveaways, his podcast. Josh, is there anything that you don't do? You pretty much do it all.
I don't do gymnastics.
Not well, at least.
Not well.
Not well. Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Josh Brown for being on our show today. All of his information will be in the show notes and the links. Thanks, Josh, again for being a part of the show.
Thank you, Doug. Fantastic getting to speak with you, and keep up the great work.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Haven't they run out of people willing to talk to them yet?